Frankenplane. I want to tell you about this plane and the story behind it. A hand plane can be one of the best companions in the shop, and I love hand planes. I was first introduced to them by Ray Kidd, my mentor, and we find that sometimes it's just quicker to grab a hand plane. But, it has to be sharp, it has to be fine tuned, and so I'm a firm believer that you should love your tools and you should be proud of your tools. We are actually stewards, especially on vintage tools like this. The oldest part on this tool goes back probably to the early 1900s, 1903 or 4, and so that's a responsibility that I don't take lightly, and so I want to take care of it the best I can. But I use my hand planes. I'm not just a collector. I have a set of bedrocks that I use on a daily basis. There is nothing hardly any better than a bedrock. Now there's some new modern planes that's come out, and so they're very good, but a bedrock plane and a vintage plane, and you've got something. Now my bedrocks, they're all type number 6s, and I have done some modifications to all my planes because when I got them, it had come to disrepair. None of them are museum quality mint, but I've taken good care of them. I've cleaned them up. I've tuned them, and so. But all the blades have been taken out and folded and put in a drawer and cared for. The original blades that most of them had a Victory logo, and so we find that also a Type 6, as you know, has a small adjusting wheel. I like the larger adjusting wheel. I've taken the adjusting wheels off and put them in a safe place so when the plane is put back together, it is just as good as it could be an original. And so, but I think, and all of these irons are in my bedrocks are from Lee Nelson. They used to make a .095 thick iron that was a replacement Stanley iron. They don't make them anymore. But I'm like them. I think a thick iron is a better iron. But to put a thick iron in a Bailey pattern plane or a bedrock pattern plane means that you must open up the mouth. And to do that, you have to file, and it modifies to where you can't, it's not reversible. And so I'm not a proponent of that. I didn't do any of my planes that way. I put the thinner irons in them so it can be thing. And so, but they stay sharp longer. It's the same steel as the thick iron, but there's just something good about planing wood and with a good tuned plane. Now, my first plane was a Bailey 60 and a half. And so then I went to a number 4. And I think a number 4 is best for general all-round work in the shop. It's my first pickup. My first go-to thought is a number 4 hand plane. My first number 4 hand plane my son has now. And so I got into collecting and trying to put together a pre-war Bailey set of planes before I got into the bedrocks. I never thought I would be able to be blessed to have a set of bedrocks, but I do. And so I have both sets in my shop that I use, and then I have a sweetheart set that I had displayed in my office, and sometimes I would even use them around the office and the church and the house and anywhere else I went. It's just because they're a collector doesn't mean because they're made to use. And so, but to just continue to hone away the steel and make the blades shorter and things of that nature, I put them away so I don't do that. And so here is Frankenplane. I thought as well as I love the Bailey hand planes, the Bedrock hand planes, and I thought, what would it be like to be able to put all the best parts together in one plane and see what it had done? You see, in the history of Bailey pattern planes, Stanley kept making them better and better and better up till what I think is World War II, and then they went downhill, went the other way, making still some improvements, but the overall plane until it got to the Type 20 when they went to blue Japanning and a bunch of other stuff, and then after that, they started making them in England, but I think that even in the older ones and the newer ones, there's some good parts. So I wanted to put all the best parts in. So that's what this is all about. You see, the this is a Type 11. It has 3 patent dates in the back behind the frog, and so it is a Type 11 plane, and so we find that that pretty much takes it to the last patent date says April 19th and 1910, and so we find that the sole, they're very collectible. I think to make one of the better planes from this Type 11 all the way up to Type 13, in my opinion, is the better ones to get. And so the reason I say that is the thickness of the sole. The sole is the heart of the plane, and so it is thick on those. And so here is the Type 13. This is a set of Sweetheart planes that I said I have in a collection. And so that has the same sole. It only has 2 patent dates on the back, or this one has 1 patent date. This is a Type 16. And so I have a set of these that I use in the shop, the Bailey pattern, and they're very nice. The difference in this and this is something, and why that the older planes are the better planes. And I'll get into some of the parts of this. Of course, I love these lever caps that don't have a name on it. The patina that they have and the way that they clean up. This one was all rusty. Now it cleaned up very well, and I like the way that did on that. And so you can also see some difference in the furniture. I love the low knob. The low knobs, they changed the knobs on the Type 12, and 13 they started with what's called the tall knob, but the low knob looks like a mushroom. I love using this plane with the low knob on it. And so the iron that I have in it now is a Wood River, and so very affordable. You can get these at the Woodcraft store, and so I like the Lee Nelson blades, but I was doing an experiment to see how this went, and it does. It holds an edge very well. I think the Lee Nelson holds an edge longer, and but it's very good. The older planes, the chip breaker, is longer, and also you can see it's gunmetal. It's black, blued on the back side to help prevent rust, and the size of it is longer, a little more metal, a little more weight, which is a good thing. And so, like I said, this had a Victory logo iron, very good iron in it. It cleaned up very well, so it's put aside so the plane can still go back. And then the larger adjusting knob. I like the larger adjusting knob. The small ones are just a little bit harder to use. This is easier, and they're in an envelope and put away, and they can be put back. And so this one, Stanley used to be able to buy a few parts for the Bailey pattern plane, and the adjuster knob is one thing that you could get, which this was like the ones on a Type 19, and also you can see inside the plane on the frog adjustment screw. These the ones that come with it, they're there in that envelope. They were very well rusted, pitted, and so I put a new frog adjusting screw and bracket in there. And so the difference that I think that you need to see comes in the frog itself. And so here's the Type 16, and you can see the difference that this is called the OG top, and this is just an arch top. But you can see how this is solid and smooth, and this is hollowed out on the inside. There's more surface for the blade to sit on. It's a more stable surface, and then you can, which I have done with this one, I have honed it to where it's very smooth and the blade works very good. And so the furniture on it, as I said, is a low knob. This and the tote is from an earlier plane, Type 8. This is Brazilian, and so they are very, very nice looking. They are Brazilian rosewood. And so later on, East Indian, you can find different type, but the Brazilian just has some darker striations in it. It's just, you know, being a wood individual, that kind of thing. So I thought, man, I'll put the best, my favorite tote and knob on it, my favorite adjusting lever, and then cleaned it up and fixed it to that degree. And then I want to tell you about something else. Because putting a thicker iron in it, the yoke is real short. You can see, like in the Type 12, the yoke is it's either Japan black, and so you can see the difference. And the top of it is shorter. I found that the Type 19 yokes, and you can tell them because they are nickel plated, and so you can see that it's either nickel or zinc. And so I bought a plane one time, and the blade wouldn't go all the way down on the frog, and I got noticing it was because this was taller. So I started finding Type 19 yokes on eBay and bought them and started putting them in then I could put thicker blades. This sole was rusted, and somebody had not cleaned it up, left shavings in it, and the front of the throat had pitted and rusted, and so it had to be filed back. And so it was a perfect candidate for a thicker blade. And so wasn't nothing. It was destined just to set on a shelf and just get worse. And so, but I took it and I put all of this in. You know, I don't know if you've ever done anything or like to tinker with stuff. You know, and so you know, we've all heard the story of Frankenstein, and so as I have put together my planes, I've had a box of parts and different things, and so I just started putting this plane together, and I just wanted to share it with you, and I call it Frank. You know, you need, as I said before, love your tools, and you know, Jersey here. It come from New Jersey, a plane dealer in New Jersey. I have Denver. I have Flame. I don't know if you name your hand planes, but mine have names, and I try to care for them and take care of them, and they do what I need them to do. And so, but this plane is a joy to use, and so I wanted to share that with you, and I hope that you have as much good luck and fortune as I have and find a Frank.